Hi, Athens. This is Nan Michael on a very hot, sunny day. And if I'm hot, I hate to think about those poor guys out on Richland working in the sun, baking under their hats. Although there were yellow hats, but today I saw 2 blue hats.
I always feel sorry for roofers up on roofs. Imagine that.
Oh.
I think that would be horrible. Although it's not like in the 90s today, it's only in the 80s, but still, I bet you when you're up on a roof or you're doing that kind of work, it feels like it's 100.
Well, I wasn't on last week, and so Jane got away without reporting back, as she had promised the week before. So today I'm going to ask her at least 2 questions. One is, how did your water bill turn out?
It's been a fiasco for the whole situation. I can't get anybody to talk to me about it. So I've decided that I'm going to pay what I feel is my part, logically, reasonably, the amount of water that I could have used. So they don't shut my water off, because I'm afraid they will if I don't pay. And then I'm gonna, if I have to, I'll just go down there and see if I can find somebody to talk to.
Well, surely you can talk to our mayor.
Well, nobody's answering the phone or getting back to me. I've left several messages. So. Well,
I would go down to City Hall and walk into his office and have a seat.
Yeah. That's what I'll have to do.
And wait till he comes in. You recognize him, right?
Oh, yeah. I recognize him. Well, we have a new mayor,
What?
Not Paul anymore.
What do you mean? When did that happen?
I guess when we had elections. What was it? May? I don't know. Anyhow, we have a new mayor.
We have a new mayor?
We do.
Oh.
But I recognize him too, so there you go.
That's too bad. I really liked our mayor.
Well, anyway, things move on.
Well, something else that's changed. Do you know what time the post office closes?
No, I didn't. What time?
4:30.
Ah.
4:30.
Not 5.
Not 5:30.
So those of
It was 5:30.
Yeah, you're right. Because I could go there after work. So now, if it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I can't go after work. That's very annoying.
Yes.
To me. But, I didn't go there that much. And a lot of times I went on Friday or Saturday when I don't work. But for people who work 5 days a week, for it to be closed at 4:30 is going to be a problem for a lot of people, I think.
How hard did you try to reach someone at the water department?
Oh, I can reach somebody at the water department. That woman who works for the water department always answers the phone and talks. But she is not listening to me. She just keeps saying my toilet was running and I'm going to have to pay the bill. I want to talk to somebody who will realize that 22,000 gallons of water running through my little house on Elmwood is impossible. There's no way that my little house on Elmwood used 22,000 gallons. Do you know that's enough to fill up the Athens swimming pool? 22,000 gallons of water.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you've researched that some, I can tell.
And if you're buying water, it's 2.5 tanker trucks full of water. Sorry, there's a gnat in here. So you tell me that my little house on Elmwood, and I was gone. Nobody was in there flushing the toilet or anything.
So how much money does that amount to?
$200. So, So I'm going to pay something on it just so they don't cut my water bill off, and try to get somebody to answer my phone calls. And if they don't, I'll just go down there. I'll just have to go down there and see if I can, get somebody to talk to me, because it's absurd. But that woman that works in the water department, I understand she doesn't have the authority to do anything. She just is there for you to pay your bill, you know. She's not there to make the
Well,
decisions.
she must be able to talk to her supervisor.
Well, you would think, but that doesn't happen. She just tells me over and over again, it's my toilet was running, and I say it was not running. I was out of town. People came to my house. They fed my cat. They're responsible adults. If my toilet was running, they would have done something about it. So it wasn't running. And the meter itself, she said, well, we went back and checked. Well, if it said it once, it's going to say it again. The question is, why did it say 22,000 gallons? It isn't that it said it. I believe it did. Maybe it got struck by lightning. You know, I don't know.
Maybe they have a leak underground.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they have a leak underground. So anyway, but she will hear none of that. She's just, you know, and I get that. I'm not mad at her or anything. Her job is not, you know, to do any of that. Her job is to explain what your bill is and take your payment. I have to get somebody higher up, you know, to respond.
Well, I know everyone out there is so glad that I came and asked you for feedback on that and didn't let you get away with it.
Well, you know, you just have to do what you can. I figure that most of the people who are working in the city building probably have other jobs too. I doubt that Athens pays well enough that very many people could be full-time employees there, except the ones like the people who work in the office, you know. So I'm going to try, I'll lurk around down there and see if I can find somebody to talk to. There's a person who's the head of the utilities commission.
There you go.
I'll try. I've left messages, but I've never gotten a response. So I'm going to be more diligent next week. I've been in and out of town and doing other stuff. And
What is that person's name?
I don't remember.
That's important. You ought to find out his name. So
I'll find. Yeah, it's on the website. I just don't remember it. Yeah, nobody I know, so I didn't remember who it was. But anyhow, on to more cheerful topics.
I know one.
Good.
Playing your comb.
Playing my comb. Yes, I did foolishly admit that I can play a comb. And Nan has brought a comb. Ooh, that's not big enough. Piece of paper.
Huh?
Hand me that big piece of paper over there.
I think it's big enough.
Not for me, it isn't. I'm not getting my lips on this comb. No, 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 no.
There went my happiness. Okay, I tried it and it seemed like it worked for me. So, wait, which side do you put it on?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't matter at all. I usually have the teeth going up because it's easier to get it vibrating if the teeth are going up.
There, that's it.
Yeah, you do. But you have to have a tune.
Oh, I know a tune. You know that is copyrighted?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it's copyrighted.
Well,
isn't that selfish of them?
Yes.
It's just too bad. Let's see. Something that I know which makes it rather limited.
Well, you'll have to come up with something then.
Huh?
You come up with something because I don't know what you know.
You don't know what I know.
This is really, folks, too small. You need a bigger comb, but, you know, you get the idea. The bigger the comb, the bigger the sound.
Is it making a noise?
No. You have to let your lips vibrate. See, you thought this was easy, but it's not working. Not working, Dan.
Oh.
Your lips have to vibrate. That's why I told you that piece of paper is too small. No, no, no. Like this. On the side. There you go.
No, you do it and I'll laugh at you.
Well, I have to say, sadly, that was some of the poorest comb playing I've ever heard. Because you don't get the vibration.
Oh.
Listen to what I do.
Okay.
You're not getting that
You
vibration.
do a song. I don't vibrate, so you.
That's and that piece of paper's too small. You cut
All right,
too
all
small
right,
a piece
all
of
right.
paper. Oh, let me see. What? Did you hear that vibration? Mm-hmm. That's what you want to aim for. Get a bigger piece of paper, and when you blow, I don't know how to tell you. When you see, that's what you're doing, like that. But that's not right. You want those teeth to vibrate. That's what makes the sound. You got to get that vibration.
Okay.
And I don't know how to tell you to do it. I guess just practice.
Okay. Well,
I think it's what happens is as the air goes through your lips, I think your lips are vibrating. Actually, you can feel it in your teeth. When you're doing it right, you can feel it in your teeth. Okay. So anybody out there, a really good comb player, first of all, that's too small of a comb. We need a much bigger comb. But that having been said,
I thought have a handle would be nice.
Yeah, the handle's fine, but the little tiny, see, this is the part that vibrates, and this is what creates the sound. So that's really too small. It's not long enough. And no wonder you can't get a buzz sound because these are so small. So maybe next week I'll bring my comb from home, which is much bigger, and we'll see. But the basic fundamental principle is you put the paper, and this is wax paper, which is really good. A lot of times, you use a napkin, and just go until you get that buzzing sound. Just practice. Don't get your lips up too tight, because it's your lips and the air that are causing these teeth of the comb to vibrate.
Well, at least I got one thing right. I stopped by Blue Eagle and asked them how to play a comb.
Oh.
And they told me the most important thing is to have a clean comb.
Well, yes. That's why I said I'm not taking that little piece of paper. I'm not putting my lips on anybody else's comb. That's for darn sure. But, of course, we didn't need this much. I would say probably.
I do have scissors over there, but...
Oh, well, I'm just doing this to show. This is fine right here like this. Mm-hmm. Just to have enough. It should cover the whole comb, and you should be able to hold it on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
See? So, see, yeah, if a dog were here, would be doing that. So the best way to practice is do this. Just hold it like this and put your lips up there, but not too tight. I noticed you were pushing hard on your mouth. Don't do that. And just and see if you can get that buzz. And once you get that, then add a tune.
Okay.
And you're good.
Okay, well...
Next week, folks, I'll play a washboard. How many people out there know what a washboard is? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure your grandmother, just like my grandmother, had a washboard. I can see her still. I mean, you had to really exert some pressure, to get your clothes clean with that thing. So it's ridges. A metal roof when you look at a metal roof.
Oh, I'm sure
has those
everybody out there
ridges.
that watches Kaleidoscope knows what a washboard is.
I don't know anymore. At one time I would have agreed with you, but anymore. It's like a very...
We have salt of the earth people watching.
Do we?
Yes.
Well, okay, then I'll stop explaining what a washboard is to you. Nan thoroughly and completely believes that you know. I'll stop.
They probably play washboards.
Could be. A lot of people do. This was reminding me of that old show, Hee Haw. Do you remember that from,
oh, yeah.
what, 40 years ago? And that was supposed to be a real down-home country setting, you know. And I remember when they laid around on the porch, you know.
Not like Beverly Hillbillies.
That was so unbelievable. It was cute and funny, but totally unbelievable. But no, Hee Haw, when they laid around on that porch, even the dog looked like this a lazy old dog laying there. You know, it kind of was the right atmosphere.
Well,
no, they did all that. They played washboards and combs and, you know, whatnot.
Some organization has canceled reruns of Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, yes, because the Confederate flag is painted on the car.
That's...
Yeah.
That's... I don't know what to say.
I don't know either. I think they should be grandfathered in because that's from what, the 70s? Early 80s, something like that.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point. Don't make anything like that going forward, but...
Hee-haw!
Yeah, right. Oh, jeez. And the name of the car was General Lee, wasn't it? Wasn't that the name of the car in Dukes of Hazzard? So I guess that could have been
It's too
somebody
late now
too.
to find out.
General Lee. Nan's going to catch that gnat before we're through here. I'll tell you.
Swallow it one.
Yeah, right. I'll probably be the one that swallows it. Well, I got to tell you, this past Sunday, I took 4 grandchildren to see the Minion movie. Are you familiar with the Minions?
How do you spell it?
Minions. Minions.
No, I haven't
They're the
heard
little
of it.
green and yellow guys.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. The Minions. I'm surprised you have grandchildren that you haven't heard about the Minions. Anybody out there who they came from the movie called Despicable Me. It's an animated film. And the villain in the animated film had a factory, and these minions worked in his factory.
Oh.
But everybody got so tickled by the Minions. Now they have their own movie. And I just wanted to say, if any of you have been thinking about taking your kids or your grandkids to see the Minion movie, do it. It is so cute and adorable. I had kids from 5 to 15, and every one of them loved it. For different reasons. You know, there's something in there for everybody. Plus, there's stuff in there for the adults, too. They put some little funny things in there that only an adult would get.
I noticed you didn't put your age in there.
No. We'll leave that out. Right on the end of my nose there. So I just want to urge you, if you want to have a fun family time, something everybody can enjoy, all the kids, whatever their ages. Because my 15-year-old grandson said, I'll just go see another movie. I said, oh, no, you won't. Because we're going to a movie theater where they're only showing the Minions. And he was like, okay, I'll go. You know, teenagers, right? Surly teenagers. And so he clomped his way in there and plopped down, you know, and was eating popcorn. And then all of a sudden, I hear him over there. He couldn't help himself. So that's how funny it is. Even surly teenagers thought it was cute and funny.
Well, and where is it? The Athena?
Mm-hmm. And you can see it in 3D. We saw it in 2D, but it is also available in 3D. And I think it would be better in 3D. But Grandma didn't want to spring for the 3D. I had 4 kids, that's 5 of us, plus popcorn, plus drinks. I mean, it's expensive to take that many kids to the movies anymore.
Yeah.
It really is. So I decided 2D would be good enough.
Well, it's good. You know, I found a movie that I think I would like to see, but I could watch it in my home, getting it on DVD.
Oh, yeah, right.
So this is the kind of thing that I usually like. I haven't seen it yet. Have
What's
you?
the title?
The title is The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Yes, I saw it.
You did?
I did.
Okay,
and it gave me the creeps for a year.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my God. It was, well, I mean, because I forget what they call it, that illness, where it comes on
Locked
you.
in syndrome.
Locked in syndrome. And for no apparent reason. I mean, this guy was fine. There wasn't anything wrong with him at all. And all of a sudden, he started falling around, and this stopped working, and that stopped working. Pretty soon, the only thing that worked were his eyes. He was completely immobile, except for his eyes. And it was just so scary to think that something like that is out there, and you could get it, you know? And that's why the diving bell, he thought of himself as somebody in a diving bell. That was his simile for what happened to him. And then the butterfly part was he could fly away in his own mind. You know, he could fly away. Well, he laid in that bed. Nobody thought his brain was working. And finally, he started blinking and doing different things, and people realized that there was thinking, you know, going on. And they set up a therapist to work with him and give him some opportunity to communicate. So there's 24 letters in the alphabet, so they didn't want him to have to blink 24 times, you know, for Z. That would be a lot. So they arranged a code, and then he could start communicating. And this was obviously before these super duper computers they have now. Like Stephen Hawking has one where you just look at the letter, you know, and it recognizes your eye movements. But this was before that. So he had a board, you know, and the person who was working with him would see where he looked on the board. And then if she had any question, she couldn't tell, then he could blink, you know, and tell her which letter it was. Huh. I mean, it horrified me. It was just, whoa.
So did you enjoy it?
No. I was sorry I went. I mean, it was a good movie. There's nothing wrong with it as a movie. But it put this thought in my head that, you know, this could happen to you, and it's horrifying to me. So I didn't enjoy it at all.
So the mind-body problem doesn't attract you?
No. No. Well, it isn't that it doesn't. I mean, I understand that that's a really interesting syndrome to study. I get all that. It just creeped me out so much that I couldn't enjoy the movie. It just the thought of that man being completely immobile and unable to communicate and just laying there day after day after day was horrible to me.
Well, that makes me curious. I think I'll see it and then we can agree probably.
Yeah, well, see, you probably won't be so creeped out now because you know what it's about. I didn't know what it was about. My friend said she wanted to go, and I said, okay, and I went. I didn't know a thing.
What'd you think about it?
Oh, she loved it. She had a different, you know, she's a different type of person than I am. So she
must be.
Yeah, she liked it because of the way the movie was made. You know, she was fascinated by it. And she had read about this guy, and you know, had to lay in that bed while they did all their shots and everything. And it was very trying for him because he had to lay there motionless for most of the movie.
So you mean like for the actor?
Yes, very trying for him. So she had read a lot about this, and she was really interested to see how they would portray him and how well they would do with this and everything.
Wow.
Obviously, for me, they did too well. It's like, oh my gosh. I told her afterwards, I have to have a drink after that movie. Woo! Give me a glass of wine.
Well, I came across an interesting tidbit in The Week, which is, I guess, my favorite magazine now. And I thought my daughter will really be interested in this because she collects pictures of lawn ornaments. But Don Featherstone, did you ever hear of him?
The name kind of familiar, but I can't say I know who he is.
He is he created the American icon when he was 21, being the pink flamingo.
Oh, okay. The lawn ornament, pink flamingo.
Right, and it was all the rage for a while, and then neighbors started complaining that it took away their selling price. So it nosedived for a while, but then came back into fashion in the 70s when there was a movie called Pink Flamingo. And so personally, I don't care. I like the ducks, but Pink Flamingo is just a little too pink.
Well, I don't have many pink flamingos, but I do have a garden gnome. You know, a little gnome with a hat. My cousin gave to me for a joke, you know, gift. And he has on Ohio State colors, the gnome. So I get a kick out of him and I put him out. I take him in the winter, and I sent her a picture when I brought him out in the spring, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I sent her a picture, and I said, oh, he's really pumped now. You know, he's out in the fresh air. And she said, you've got to get a life. This is not. I threatened to take him with me on vacation. Because, you know, people steal people's gnomes. Did you know about this?
And send them postcards?
Yeah. Or pictures of the gnome, you know, what he's doing on his vacation. So I threatened to take him with me when I went to Panama City Beach, but my friends that I was going with said, no, we're not having the garden gnome. So
how big is he?
Oh, he's about probably like that.
Uh-huh.
Probably a little bit bigger than a shoebox.
Well, another article that surprised me is that they have found that more blue-eyed people are alcoholics than dark-eyed people.
Ah,
Now, isn't that something?
yes, it is.
Here's my little proof here.
You know, when you work in the prisons, a lot of the old guys that have worked there for a long time will tell you that the guys with the real light blue eyes are the ones to watch out for.
Really?
Yes, I've heard that more than once when I was working in the prison.
How about the women?
I never heard it about the women, but I did hear it about the men. That they really thought over 30 years of observation, you know, of all these guys that they had seen, that, and I'm talking about the real light, like almost like ice, you know, eyes, link up to some pretty bad behavior. Not always. I don't suppose always. You know, there's probably people that have those eyes and they're priests or something. But they found that more times than not, the guy with those eyes would be trouble. Capital T.
Wow.
So that kind of links up, you know, to what you're saying.
Well, a study published in the American Journal of Medical Genetics suggests that people with blue eyes are significantly more likely to become alcoholics. So, alcoholism was more prevalent among people with light eyes, and the rate was about 80% higher among blue-eyed people.
Wow. Now that's significant, 80%. Oh, goodness me. I have one of my grandsons has real blue eyes. To watch him.
Well, my father was
He's
an
growing up.
alcoholic, and he had blue eyes and red hair, so that's
Well,
too
we've
bad.
had alcoholics in our family that have had brown eyes, though, so, you know, it's possible. But that's interesting, that correlation. And especially, you know, when I think about the captain, one of the captains in one of the prisons that I worked with saying that about those guys. And he was totally convinced. And he was saying it in the context of who should play one of those villains, you know, serial killers or something, you know, in the movies. And he said, well, anybody that has light blue eyes, because
And they have piercing dark eyes. That's how they
portray them.
yeah.
But he swore. So that is an interesting topic. I'm going to have to Google that. But now, Nan has some footage.
Well, I do have footage.
What's her name again?
My name is Nan Michael.
No.
Here, I want to show
Your
them
footage.
that I have another book published.
Oh, Nan has another book published.
Yes. And this was a lot more fun to write than the other one, because this was...
I don't think they can see the title. What is the title?
Time Wrinkles. On the back it says, the good news is that with no time, there are no wrinkles. The bad news is that there are wrinkles.
Well, there you go. Wrinkles, if you stick around long enough, wrinkles will occur.
A plebeian portfolio, down to earth and over the top in story and verse. And you know, a number of these drawings are public domain, so it was more fun going through Google and finding public domain drawings to go with the excerpts. So
how would a person get that if they wanted to?
Through Amazon. It's on Kindle also. So
Time Wrinkles. Nan Michael, that's Michael with a Y.
That's right. And
it can be yours. Or you can listen to it on your Kindle app.
Well, I interrupted her, and she was about to tell you that we're going to see the last 23 minutes of Peggy Gish's talk about Boko Haram and the pacifist response to it in Nigeria. So the first hour of her talk is going to also be played on Grassroots this week.
Okay.
So let's take a look at Peggy.
And if you like this 23, go to Grassroots and see the rest.
A real figure, but I'm guessing several thousand people that still don't know where members of their family are and have not been able to. The ones that went up into the mountains do not have coverage. And there's some kind of gap between Cameroon and Nigeria where they're not able to communicate the way they are within the country. They don't have their proper coverage. So there are many that are still like families that are torn apart. I mean, they don't even know if their husband or wife or mother or father or are still alive, and that's very sad. That's almost. I mean, I don't mean it's easy to know your family member was killed, but that has its own problems. That's its own stress of not knowing is really hard too. Yeah. But the people in the camps complain that they're not getting enough attention. They're not getting enough help from the leadership of the church. But considering the problems and considering what's happened to them, and that the leaders also were displaced and traumatized, I think they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, they're doing whatever they can, but it's still, people are falling through the cracks. And they're sending out people to try to make lists of people so that they have names and they can connect people. I mean, that's a process they're going through right now. Well, by the end of our trauma healing workshops, we had a really beautiful exercise in which we grabbed the thumb of the person next to us, and we had this whole circle of hands. And you could probably tell which one is mine. But I just felt very graced, very gift, you know, such a gift to be among people who were grappling with real issues and really supporting each other through this. And so this was symbolic of how important it was for them to support each other, how important it was for them to be part of a healing community that would help people walk through this, and that they weren't alone and left alone in it. Okay, let's see, where are we? Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about Muslim-Christian relationships, because another piece of the work that the Nigerian Brethren were doing, they were involved with organizations and groups that were Christians and Muslims coming together to work together to dispel a lot of the hostility and a lot of the tensions in their society, try to work for reconciliation, try to work for respect and trust among their people. And so, because when I talked with some of the brethren, Nigerian brethren, I heard all different points of view. When I was there at one of the sites of a burnt church near Mubi, a woman there whose husband had been killed as they were fleeing, she said, "Now I don't think I could ever live with Muslims again. You know, they will never change." And there were those who still carried so much grief and trauma and could not move beyond that, and they couldn't even see the possibility of any reconciliation. And then on the other end, there were people working for interfaith respect and trust. And so you had all different points of view depending on what their experience was and where they are in their healing work. This man, he was a church leader who told about in his village, he said, when Boko Haram came into my village, he said to me, we had been living in peacefully before that happened. And now all of a sudden, there were the hostility and mistrust. But he said, my Muslim neighbors and friends protected me and helped me to escape. So I heard story after story of how Muslims and Christians worked together to help each other during the crisis. And I found that very encouraging, that they refused to let, to fall into the demonizing of other people, refused to put people in the enemy category just because they were from a different faith. And I found that very encouraging. And here's another man, Toma, who was the peace coordinator for the EYN church and had started peace clubs in some of the high schools in Adamawa state. And he has been working now for about 10 years on issues of interfaith work. And this man, James Musa, another church leader who shared how important it was for them when they gave aid. He said to give it to everyone and not just to our own, not just to give it to Christians. And so it was very important for him to try to bridge those divides. He said those who are displaced that are Muslim, they're experiencing the same kind of pain. Why are we, we must also help everyone who is in need. And back to Toma. I wanted to, I think I already said that. Okay. Then this is a man that I saw just doing a lot of very inspiring things. He, in 2013 and 14, when the attacks really intensified against Christians, he was living in Jos, but he traveled into the Northeast, talking with Christians and Muslims, trying to reach out to help them. And over those last two and a half years, he's been giving money to people from different backgrounds to help them get resettled into another area, or giving them encouragement, finding ways for them to make a new life. Now, he's the husband of Janata that I showed, that they have 53 people. And at first, it was Muslims and Christians, I didn't mention that, in their household, you know, helping out everyone who had escaped. He is director of an organization called, let me get this here, Lifeline Compassionate Global Initiatives. And it's a group of Muslims and Christians that are doing projects together. And one of their projects is the Gurku Interfaith IDP camp, just north of Abuja. Abuja is the capital and it's over here, capital of Nigeria. And so you have 63 families, Christian and Muslim, that moved into the Gurku IDP camp in May. Now, I went there in late March, and so I saw it before it was finished. And here, Muslims and Christian people that were going to move in, they were living in the nearby village, preparing, and they all helped build the village. They made homemade bricks out of the clay there and put them in the sun to dry, and they helped to build the walls and the roofs. And women, when we were there, the women came around, came around to meet us. But they see this as a model for unity, a model that they hope will be picked up and carried out in other locations of bringing people together in friendship and harmony to live peacefully together. And here the men are working on the roof, and here are the finished buildings. And these are very simple, little 3-room dirt floor, you know, not fancy, and then they have a latrine between 2 of the houses so that 2 families share a latrine and a little kitchen, outdoor kitchen area. And they have a pump that they go to get their water, and they're each given a plot of land, each family, a plot of land to do some basic farming to get some food for their families. And then they're starting out to build a school and a medical clinic that will be available to other people in the area as well as their village. And before they moved in, we did a trauma healing workshop there, where Muslims and Christians sat around together and also shared and went through some of the healing process together. And they found that, you know, very strengthening for their group. Okay, I'm aware of the time, but then there were Nigerians who reached out and responded in love and to help people who had been Boko Haram fighters. And so I want to just share briefly a couple of those stories. This is Amadou Bello. He is a EYN pastor. And he was a pastor in Maiduguri. That's where Boko Haram started. And in 2009, that's where they started the violence. And against Christians, they start burning churches. And he told me that while he was there those years, most of the violence would be done at night, and then during the day they would go out and collect bodies, sometimes with severed limbs, and they would try to give that person a proper burial. And they would put ladders up on 2 sides of their house so that depending on which direction Boko Haram came in the middle of the night, they could flee out the other way. Things like that. But he was a pastor there in this real large church for 4 years and just experienced a lot of horrible things. Well, he told me that during those 4 years, 4 different times, small groups of Boko Haram fighters came into his church, and they wanted to see the pastor. And he didn't know if they were coming in there to kill him or if they were just testing him out, whatever. But they sat, he invited them in, they sat down and talked, and he listened to them and their problems. And before they left, he prayed with them. And then, instead of having them go out the front door where they would have been caught by Nigerian soldiers and then killed immediately, he had them escorted out a back way so that they would not be grabbed. And he said, I do this because I love you. And he's an amazing attitude person. And then one day he was, people have other people wash their cars quite frequently. Anyway, but he had this man who always washed his car. And he was talking to him and he said, if I were in political position, I wouldn't kill the Boko Haram fighters immediately. If they're captured, I would have them brought to me, I would listen to them and hear their stories and their complaints, and I would find out what they're angry and upset about. And then if possible, I would try to do something about those conditions. And this is an amazing attitude, okay? And so he was telling this man, and then later he found out that this man he was talking to was a Boko Haram commander in secret. And then a few months later, he and his family were traveling in their car and were stopped at a Boko Haram checkpoint, and just their car was surrounded by fighters. And immediately he just knew that that was the end for him and his family. But one of the fighters looked in the window and recognized him and said, this is a good man. And then he said, you can pass. And he went on his way. And so, you know, this kind of experience is just amazing. And then because he had gone through so much, in 2014, they moved him to Jos because he needed to get out of that situation and also have respite himself and healing and care. But he's now pastoring there in the big church in Jos. He was my neighbor real close to where I live there, and so I had many talks with him. Actually, he had grown up as a Muslim and then became a Christian as a teenager, and so he really has a heart for, you know, reconciliation. Okay, another, back to Marcus, okay? Because he told me 2 stories of reaching out to Boko Haram fighters. One time it was a nephew of his, a Christian, who had been pressured and threatened and was forced to join. And I was able to meet with this young man. We sat in the car in a gas station because we had to keep this really anonymous, and he couldn't be seen with me and all that, give attention to him. He's still kind of in hiding. He told me about how when he was captured and forced to be in the army, he was given money, a gun, and ammunition, and he was told that if you don't kill 1 or 2 of your blood brothers, you will be killed. Now, he did everything he could to keep from being a part of any of the violence of Boko Haram. He was with them for 4 months, and he said he would come up with some kind of emergency excuse every time they were going out on a raid or doing, and he secretly did not take the drugs that they gave him that would make him more submissive. And so he was thinking clearly, and he was able to get around full involvement in the army. But then when he had a chance, he was able to get out into the bush, run, and escape. And then Marcus helped him come to a whole new community and get a new start with his life. And he's there kind of in secret. Another young man was a Muslim, And his father had cooperated with Boko Haram when they came in their village out of threat. But the father was not really supportive and sort of half-heartedly did what they wanted him to do. And he called Marcus and he said, "Can you help my son get out of the army, the Boko Haram fighting group?" And so he made contact with the son by phone, and then the son, he was there, about 5 months. He was able to escape one day, and then Marcus helped him with local people to get him out and all the way to Jos secretly, because if the Nigerian military would have found him, or people sympathetic, he would have been killed immediately. And so he came and showed up at Marcus's house. He took care of him and helped him get to Kano, which is mostly Muslim area in the north, where he would not be in as much danger. But seeing that people could get another start and giving them a chance and taking risks to help them leave that horrible situation. Rebecca Dolly, the other woman I showed earlier, she's head of the CEPI organization. She had gone over into Cameroon to give aid. And then, this is in 2012, and a man came up to her. She was giving aid to all people from all faith backgrounds. It wasn't. And this man came up and wanted to talk to her privately. And so she went off with him, and he acknowledged that he was a Boko Haram fighter, but that he hated what he was doing. He had killed like 32 people, and he wanted to change. And so she spent time with him, talking and praying with him, and he decided to leave the fighting group. And so she connected him in the camp with other EYN people who would help him secretly leave that, because he had to be careful or he would be killed. So tried to help him in the change of his life. And then one time she was in her car full of supplies going to the town of Chibok to give to people there, and stopped at a checkpoint, and 2 Boko Haram fighters, and they forced her out of her car and into the bush. And on her way, as she was going, she said, "I just knew this was my last time." And she said, "The thing that bothered me the most was that my husband didn't even know I was coming to back to Chibok, where it was more dangerous. And I didn't tell him, and here I'll be killed, coming here where my husband didn't even know it." Anyway, so she prayed very much as she was going in. She's very much evangelical Christian, and said, "God, if you want me to continue doing this work, please help me get through this." But he said, I'm ready to die if that's what happens. And so she gets taken in, and she's surrounded by about 20 fighters. And one of them says, "Okay, we're going to kill you. Aren't you scared?" And she said, "No." And she is a very strong kind of person and calm person. And she said, "Because if you kill me, I know I'm going to heaven." And then one of them said, "Well, what about Boko Haram? Are we going to heaven?" And she said, "I don't know. But I know that you can turn your life around. And just in a second, you can change what you are doing." And she just spoke to them in a gentle way. And then they said, "Okay, we know you are doing good things, and you are helping Christians and Muslims. And we're going to let you go." And so she went back. And ever since then, anytime she comes up, meets Boko Haram along her journey, they know her and they let her through. And so these are the amazing people that have been inspiring for me in my time there. So the church has gone through this really horrific time, and the people, and yet they are strong, they are rebounding, they are helping each other out. Many of them are going beyond their own survival and are reaching out, working for peace, for reconciliation, doing things beyond the call, the norm, what you might expect a person would do there. The crisis has actually strengthened them. They've strengthened their commitment to nonviolence, to forgiveness and reconciliation. And it has intensified their love and care for each other. They feel like they are being strengthened as they prepare to deal with future crises. So I'm going to stop there. I went way too long. But let's see what kind of questions you have. This is a women's fellowship in their very colorful dresses, and I just love to be. And this is the official cloth for the Women's Fellowship of EYN that they have dresses made out of, and they made me a dress. I have a top and a wraparound out of that material. So that's going to work for you. And then I'll be able to kind of look back there, but I'll try to stay in one place.
Well, Peggy certainly is a lovely person and so dedicated, a peace activist, and has recently returned from Nigeria, where she lived, I don't recall how many years, certainly during the time that Boko Haram misbehaved over the countryside. And much of her talk, as you probably could see, consisted of telling stories about individuals and what they experienced. And I certainly was glad that I had gone to cover it and to bring it back to share with Athens.
Yeah, me too. Because she's a remarkable person, and it's a remarkable thing to do. You don't find very many people who live their convictions. You know, you really don't. So Athens, let her be an inspiration. And let us be an inspiration. Maybe you will be inspired to play a comb. Who knows? After what you've seen.
Well, we can
So, I'll get a whole song together, you know? See if I can do that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.